All right, today is Friday, August 3rd, and we have Alan Sawyer. He's going to talk about something I have no idea what it's all about, but he's going to tell us. And welcome.
Wow.
So it's all you, Alan.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, what I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about was two things. One is MariaDB, and one is Sphinx full text search, of which I'm using both in the site that I'm building. There was some discussion on the Skype chat about MySQL and the future of MySQL, and so I wanted to address and give you guys a little bit of information so that you'd know not necessarily where MySQL is headed, but where, if you're using MySQL, what options you have, or some of the options that you have. For those of you that are not that familiar with MySQL, it was developed by a gentleman in 1994 who actually named it after his daughter, whose name is Mai, and he sold it to Sun in 2008, who then got sold to Oracle in 2010. Since Oracle already has a product that they sell, of course, the Oracle database, there's a big question in people's minds as far as what's going to happen with MySQL. Well, Michael Windenius, which is the gentleman who created MySQL, was able to create something called MariaDB. And MariaDB is exactly the same as MySQL. It's a drop-in replacement. You don't have to change a thing when you program in it, but it's basically a replacement for MySQL. And on my screen you can see that that's what it is. So what they've done is they've taken the source code and they're tweaking it and fixing things and making it better. So if Oracle ever decided to go and stop MySQL, you could use MariaDB and it would be perfectly fine. Like I said, it's an exact drop-in replacement. It has the same names. The executables are the same. Everything's the same. They've actually added features to it that make it better than MySQL in some cases. So, but it will run everything that runs under MySQL. Any questions on that guy?
Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize it was MySQL.
Yeah, Yep.
So a lot of places I have like shared hosting and all that, and they have MySQL. I would have to have a hosting that I could drop this in, right? I mean, either that or I have to go ask.
You'd have to ask them to either install it for you. If you don't have control over it, you'd have to ask them to install MariaDB. It also runs on Linux, Windows, all of the same things that MySQL does. They actually used MySQL's code originally, and then they've now branched off. They have a branch of the code, fork, and they are now doing their thing. So yes, they would have to install it for you, but it definitely could be done.
And when I load it on like you have right here locally, it's just as easy as
yes, it's exactly the same. The only thing that you might notice is if you make an error, like a syntax error, it's going to come back and tell you that MariaDB doesn't like the syntax. But that's about it. Other than that, you don't know that you're running Maria versus MySQL. You have the same features available to you and everything else. So let me show you real quick. We'll just go. I'm going to get out of this guy now. Let me see. Can you see that guy? Are you able to see? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Okay. This happens to be my database. This is again running under MariaDB on my local PC. I also have it on a server, a one-in-one.com hosted server. That's a dedicated server of mine. And like I said, if I don't know, if I type in something wrong, actually it doesn't even say here. There's some cases where it will tell you that MariaDB, had an error or whatever, but this one didn't even do that. So now I'm using SQL Yog, which is just something that is very similar to other like PHPMyAdmin. They have a free version. I just happen to like it. But you're welcome to use, of course, whatever versions of the client that you want to use. Trying to think. That's basically it. I just wanted to let people know that MariaDB is out there, so not to fear MySQL is going away. Even if it did, and I don't think Oracle would kill it, even if they did, there are other options. And since this is the sole purpose of Maria is to be compatible with MySQL, as far as like a superset of MySQL, you'll never be in a position where you should have a problem.
So is it the licensing better though? Because
it's free. Yeah, it's free. So yes.
Okay, because MySQL is not necessarily
free, so. But right. But MySQL can be free, but yes, it's not necessarily free, depending on who installs it and so on. Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay. I mean.
So, no questions on MariaDB? Nope. No questions on it.
Any question, anybody?
Okay.
No. The chat's on the bottom if anybody has questions.
All right. So the next thing I wanted to explain and talk about was a product that I'm using to do my full text search that I'm using on my site, and I will explain a little bit more about that. If people are not familiar with full text search, it is essentially a way, in its easiest form, it's a way to be able to index a title or text and then be able to go find it, to be able to search for it very quickly. There is full text search built into MySQL. There is full text search built into Microsoft SQL Server. But this particular product has some features that even will do some things that the MySQL or the Microsoft SQL Server won't do. So it has some nice features. It's also free. I know that at some point there probably is a cost if you get huge and stuff, but at this point it's free for what I'm using it for anyway. So I'm not real familiar with the total license on that. I think it's basically free unless you want support. And this product is called Sphinx. It's called Sphinx Search. So let me pull that up for you real quick here, just so you can know the site and what it looks like. That's what their site looks like. There are 2 books that were written so far on Sphinx Search and how to use it. One is from O'Reilly, and I believe one is from, I don't remember the other company. But there are a couple books, so if you want to get into that, they do have a very active forum. Sphinx and full text search is used for things like Craigslist. Craigslist uses Sphinx for their full text search, so that when you go somewhere and type in here, we'll just do it real quick here. I probably should have gone to a different one. But anyway, when you go in and you type in Chevrolet, it will pull back anything that has Chevrolet anywhere in the title. Doesn't matter whether it's first word, last word, anywhere in there it will do it. And that's what a full text search does for you. So hopefully that makes sense. The way that Sphinx works is it sits outside of the database that you're using. So it will work with Postgres, it will work with MySQL, it will work with SQL Server, it will work with Oracle. Basically, it has a way of reading the database, and it creates indexes that it then uses. So let me just kind of give you an idea. My server, or my local system here, I have almost 22.5 million businesses that are searchable. And where am I? And here is the index that Sphinx has created for me, or the files that Sphinx has created for me. So they're quite large. They're like 13 gigabytes of data. But that takes all of the business names, all the descriptions, all the states, cities, and it's all indexed for me. So one of the things that I do, and I use something called Sphinx SE, which is specific to MySQL. So it would be a little different if you use SQL Server or Oracle, but the reason that I use it is because it allows me to interface directly with my SQL statements with no changes, so that any language I use, any query tool I use, anything I use against MySQL, I can do a full text search for. And it doesn't have to be anything special. So I can give you an example. Here's kind of the syntax of it. This one is going to select the BA as my business addresses, so there's 22.3 million records in that table. And the way it works is you create another table that just has, it's like a list of pointers that comes back from Sphinx. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell it, and this query mode right here that you see here is where I tell Sphinx what I want to go find. But it's normal SQL syntax, so that I don't. It's normal. It's not normal SQL syntax. It's Sphinx syntax inside of a text, so that SQL Server or anything doesn't complain about it. It will run it just fine. MySQL will run this just fine, and it gets passed through Sphinx, which is, and then does it. Let me just run the query for you real quick. I'm confusing myself a little bit, and I apologize for that. When I run this, okay, so now it's going to, as soon as I hit this button, it's going to go out and it's going to search 22.3 million records and find the one where the business name has got the word YPSN somewhere in it. Right? I got some feedback right now. All right, there we go. Okay, so now it did it. It searched, and that is in the business name right there. So I can do things.
What it's doing is it's using a function call over to the other database, their database, in essence, to retrieve the index items to find the data.
Correct. And what MySQL, in order to support Sphinx, you end up linking a piece of Sphinx into MySQL, but that's done. If you use MariaDB, it's actually built into MariaDB, so all you have to do there is tell it up here, you tell it where Sphinx is located, like what port it's on, because I can run the Sphinx program actually on a different server if I wish to do that. Okay, but I want you to be able to see some of the speed that you get. Again, I'm going through 22 million records here. This one's one. I'm going to look for where the business name has got the word restaurant in it somewhere. Doesn't matter where it is. And I'm going to pull back the first 500 that it sees. So there might be 10,000 that are that way, or 100,000, but it's only going to pull back 500, and there it did it. So it's very quick. You will find that the full text search that's built into MySQL is somewhat slower than this for sure. And you'll see all of these have at least the word restaurant in them. Now I can put in more. I can put in, like has restaurant and maybe has the word Mexican in it or something like that. Do the search, and again, it will look through everything and it will give me everything that has Mexican and restaurant in it. It does it pretty fast. And this is local, so I'm not having to suck the data down from my main server, but this is an example of how it works. Same thing, here's one with ones where I'm looking for businesses that have watermelon in their name. Okay. You can also set up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's not like you're going on one column.
Correct. I'm whole record for business name right now. Now I can add to that. I can put in a state. Say I only want watermelon in this business name where the state is in California, and it will pull just back that. And I'll show you an example of that.
I see.
Pretty quick here. This is actually going after one column of that I've indexed, which happens to be the business name. But I'll show you now. Here's an example of one. This is something else that you can do also. This is saying, give me back the records where the business name does not contain the word Bethel, but is in the city of Bethel. Now, I'm not saying what state, so if there happens to be more than one state where that city is, which there is, there's a Bethel, Arkansas, Connecticut. But you'll notice none of these that are pulled back have the word Bethel or Bethel in it. That's because I've told it to ignore those. And I've also told it to limit it to 10. Okay. The other thing that you can do that I'm making extensive use of is you have the ability. The majority of my addresses and businesses are geocoded, and that I know what longitude and latitude, in theory, they exist. So I can say, okay, I can pass a longitude and latitude, which this happens to be mine where I'm at now, where I'm physically at, and I can say, give me any business that has the word leaning in it, but give me the closest ones to me of where I'm at. Okay, so we'll try that real quick. Okay, And there happens to be a place called Leaning Tower, which is less than a half a mile from me, and that's what this is saying. There's also one about 15 miles from me, one that's 110 miles from me, and so on. So this would be something that you could use very easily if you know where you're at to determine what the closest, say what the closest McDonald's is, or what the closest car repair shop is. Or a company could use it if they were interested in, you know, if they had all of their branches somewhere, someone could find out what's the closest, say, bank or whatever it is to them. Now this does do it based on, I forget what it's called, based on as a crow flies. In other words, it doesn't know that you have to go down a road. So it does. It says that if I were to hop on an airplane, 0.35 miles from here is the Leaning Tower. So it's as the crow flies, or as I can go in a straight line. So when you actually went to get directions, it would probably be, more than likely be farther. But that at least gives you an idea of what it can do. Any questions on that? Nothing? Okay. Okay. So what I wanted to show you was I'll show you the site I'm working on, just so you can kind of get an idea of the type of thing that you can do with it. And this is not inclusive of everything. I don't have everything working yet, but I have the basics working, and so I will show you the basics. This happens to be a yellow page site, and we'll just go to search so I can kind of explain so you can see in real life how this thing works. If I put the word Apple for the business name, and I say where it has all the words, in other words, it's going to pull up businesses that have the word Apple in them. I have this limited to retrieve 20 maximum for performance, and I don't want anybody being able to kind of steal all of my addresses. So this pulls back ones that have Apple in them, and I can go next and see, again, it has Apple in the name. So same type of stuff we've been doing. But if I say Apple and orange, and I say all the words, then I'm going to get a list of any business in the whole United States that has the word Apple and orange in it. It doesn't have to be in that order. It just has to be Apple and orange, both words. So let's see if there are any. And there's actually only one in the whole United States that has Apple and orange in its name, and it's called the Orange Apple Computer Club. Again, you can kind of see the performance of it. This is actually running on my live server, so this is not running locally. This is performance of what you would actually see on the site if you went to the site. Now, if I type in Apple Orange, and I say any of the words, oops, wrong one, any of the words, then I'll get back any business that has the word Apple or orange in it. It doesn't matter. And I have a feeling, I think we're going to get mostly apples. Oh, well, got that guy. That's got Apple, but if it had an orange in it, it would also pull it up. Now, if I type in Apple Orange, and I want the exact phrase, so in other words, it has to specifically have the word Apple and then orange in that order, it pulls up no records because there isn't any. The one that we had found was Orange Apple. So to prove that works is we'll put orange, well, if I can spell, Orange Apple, we'll say exact phrase and we'll search for it, and it should find just the one, which it does. Okay. That's the main thing. Now there are some things that you can do, and I'll show you a couple things here that are unique to Sphinx that even Microsoft SQL Server won't do. But I'll show you some things that both can do. We have a veterinarian in a town called Perry. So I want to search for Perry Vet, but I don't know if they're in there as veterinarian, and actually I don't know how to spell veterinarian. I don't know if they're in there, so I can use a wildcard. I can put in Perry with vet, and anything that has Perry and at least VET with something after it will now appear. I can go ahead and put a state in if I want to do that. Let me go ahead and put New York for the heck of it. If I didn't, I apologize. I had an error. Scratch that idea. We won't put New York in there then. Oh, 1 second here, peoples. I had an error. Teach me to...
It
was. Oh, okay. I'm not using hyperfile, but it would probably be as I'm loading in the States, maybe. All right, we'll do this. We'll go back here anyway. Okay, Perry, vet, and we're going to put in that. All right, let's see if this works. Hopefully this will work. Okay, and there's actually the Perry vet that I'm looking for. Let's see if there were any others. Oh, there are. Perry Vets Club, because it's got the VET in it. Also, Sphinx can be told that to ignore, say, quotes. So the word SAMS, S-A-M-S, and SAMS, S-A-M apostrophe S appear the same. So if I go to do a search for SAMS, I will get ones that have it without the apostrophe. And let's see if I got one that has it with. Well, at some point, hopefully I do. If I did, it would pull it. It would still pull it up, even though it's got an apostrophe in it. What's that?
Hey, you know what would be nice in your app is the stuff you have on the bottom. You
Yeah,
put it on
probably
the
would
top
be.
so you don't have to keep going down.
And the part of the problem is I've got a small screen on this one. This particular one doesn't have a high-resolution screen. So yes, I would agree. And I'm welcome. I am not a graphics person, graphics-oriented person. I do databases. So if you guys do go in and play, and you have some, some things I should change or whatever, let me know and I will gladly change it. One of the things that this will do, however, that SQL Server will not, is I can also use a front wildcard, if I'm so inclined. So, I don't know, let's see. I can do that also. So if I don't know, or I can use it in the middle. Now, SQL Server will do the middle, but here I can use it on the front. So I'm looking for Perry that has INARY at the end of something. And again, it will pull up that one, and that one in main, and so on. So again, you can see the performance. It's very fast. That's the reason that Craigslist uses it. And Craigslist, I believe, does 50 million searches a day. I don't think I'll ever get to that level. But that's the type of thing it can do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's about it. Were there any questions at all?
Any questions, guys? Hit the chat or raise your hand or.
Nobody has any questions.
I mean, the thing is, you kind of brought to light something that all of us can use, and it's.
Yeah, and there's some setup involved and stuff. Give you an example here. Let me find it. Okay, like here is a. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of the hard part, and it's not that hard.
Part now.
But basically, you do have to tell Sphinx, how am I going to log in to the server, and you essentially create a query. Yes, it can be used on all the databases, regardless of Linux, Microsoft. Now the Sphinx SE that I'm using is specific to MySQL. But they have other parts that you can get it to do the same thing that are not exactly the same. So I don't want you to think that it's totally exactly like I just showed you if you're not using MySQL, but the capability exists where it can talk to Oracle and all the other database, the majority of the other databases. Yes.
Hey, Alan. When Andy was saying that it uses a function, so that function call for Sphinx in MySQL is built in. In the other in Maria,
yes,
I mean,
it expects the query. It expects this guy right here, query, to have my syntax in that I'm searching for, and Maria has the links to it built in for Sphinx. MySQL, you only have to recompile. You do have to do a recompile to include Sphinx, but they've already done that for you in Maria. But either MySQL or Maria can do what I'm showing you here.
So Postgres, I would have
Postgres,
to do
you only have to do a little bit more work in that
the
the syntax here, which is called Sphinx SE, you can't use in Postgres. You can still build the indexes like this is, just like I'm doing here, and you can get to it, but you have to get to it a little differently. It's not quite as straightforward. And it's something maybe somebody that's more familiar with Postgres than I am could try, or SQL Server even could try, because I haven't tried it on SQL Server, to kind of give you guys the idea of what you would have to do differently. but you still can get to it. It's just that SE that I'm using is specific to SQL Server. This particular syntax here is specific to going and getting it from MySQL. I'm sorry, going from MySQL. Yeah, there is a little bit of work, a little bit of work to be done to set it up. Not a complicated thing, but there is a little bit. Here's where I'm able to tell it to ignore. That's characters like I want it to ignore, like semicolons, or not semicolons, like apostrophes and double quotes and stuff, so that it doesn't treat those as separate words. So that's kind of how that is. Any questions?
I guess you can always Google it, like I'm doing right now, and
yeah, you can definitely Google it. The books, the two books, I believe that they address it also. I own both of them, but I haven't gone through from cover to cover. And since I'm not doing Postgres right now or SQL Server on it, I haven't addressed that part. But yeah, definitely, you definitely can do them. It's just a question of how easy. The Sphinx SE makes MySQL and MariaDB extremely easy to interface to. And like I said, I can do it with this SQL Yog. I can do it with PHPMyAdmin. I can do it with Visual Basic. I can do it with any tool that can pass a SQL statement to the database, and it will intercept it. It will intercept. Sphinx will intercept this and do the work and return back the what I want. I also can actually join other tables to this, other non-Sphinx tables if I wish to do it, like some sort of a code table, and it would also do that. So it works hand in hand. Works very well.
Hey, going back to MariaDB.
It is exactly the same.
All that kind of stuff.
There is nothing that I know of that will run in MySQL that will not run in Maria.
Okay.
I mean, the main advantage is not going to go away.
So there's a big advantage to it. I mean, what?
When you do upgrades, when they have a new version that comes out, like for Windows, you just run it, and it automatically does everything it's supposed to do. I mean, it's very simple. They made it very simple to upgrade. They made it simple to install. I like it. I'm sold on it. But there is no difference in how in something that you can run under Maria, it will run under. Excuse me. Let me back up. Anything that runs in MySQL will run on Maria. Now, Maria, I don't know if you're not familiar with MySQL. MySQL has what they call engines. They're like there's like one for MyISAM, there's one for NODB, and so Maria has one that they're creating called Area, which was originally going to be, or Area, which was originally going to be called Maria, but they changed the name because they thought it would confuse everybody. And it's just the same deal, where I can open up a table, I can create it as an Area database, Area table, and it will treat it differently. That would not be compatible with MySQL, but all of the MySQL commands that you use, that you're used to, anything you use, store procedures, views, tables, it's all 100% compatible with Maria. And that's their mission, is to make it a drop-in replacement. So I don't know of every time that there would be something in MySQL that would not work in Maria. That's their whole mission, is to make them be compatible. Including the file names are compatible, so you don't even have that as a problem. File names are the same. Something to look at for sure.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
The source code, it's GPL license, I think, but it's
not open source.
Let's see. Oops, over here. But you're welcome. You can download. I mean, you're allowed to download the source, and yeah, you can have the source and everything. Well, there have been times in the past where MySQL I had to recompile it, and specifically for Sphinx, because I was trying to do that. But that's before I found out MariaDB has it already built in. So, but it's meant to be an enhanced drop-in replacement for MySQL. So it will have more features that MySQL has, but it will have it won't be missing any features that MySQL has. And you can actually go here and see the features and the compatibility and so on, just to make sure that, you know, in case, well, here, let's go to the compatibility. Maybe I'm wrong, so we'll find out. Let's see if, and they're saying checksums faster, but let's see if they're saying there's anything that doesn't work. Identical, should be the same. Yeah, you can use the MySQL client, like if you get into it through ODBC, you just use the MySQL one. So, looks like there are a few incompatibilities, so we'll have to take a look and see, but that's the thing. Oh, different result because of a checksum table. You may get a different result, but it's still a correct result, because MySQL does it differently than Maria does. Maria does not ignore nulls, which MySQL does, so you'll get a checksum differently on different number back, but it's still going to be correct. If the two checksums are the same, you know the tables are identical. Anything else? Okay. Then I think we're pretty good.
I don't see any other questions.
Good. Well, if you have any questions on Sphinx, just Skype me and let me know. I don't know everything, but I've played enough with it that I can probably answer some questions for you. And yeah, just let me know and I can help out with anything. Yep. And there are some duplicates, so that number will probably get a little smaller. But there's also
3 million.
About 2 million small businesses that don't do any kind of advertising or anything because it's too expensive. So I'm hoping eventually we can kind of plug them in there somewhere.
Andy, you got anything to add or say?
All right.
No, I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
No,
fantastic.
it does not.
Yeah.
It does not require Sphinx. So you can install Maria and use it just as if you're using MySQL. You do not need Sphinx in it at all. And Sphinx won't show up unless you actually enable it, basically. So you won't even have that unless you enable it. But definitely take a look at Maria. It works out really nice. Like I said, you don't know you're not on MySQL, so it's exactly the same as far as the end result. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Sounds like
Cool,
a winner.
thanks.
Oops, we got Chris talking again here. Oh, he said.
Well,
thanks.
good.
Okay, I appreciate it. So I'm going to end the recording right now.
All
and
right.
God, that was worth waiting for. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, see you tomorrow.
Bye, y'all. Oh yeah. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Andy, you want to give a little preface?
It's just a simple deal is that in learning how to take some of the stuff from Peter Holman's and Stephen Hodgman, I figured out and worked out a methodology for using class arrays to manage your record structure as well as your data. So we're going to go through developing that as well as developing non-standard file accesses using SQL to do that, denormalizing using the arrays and using those in your tables. So it ought to be pretty cool.
Very good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be exploring the file to array, source to memory, memory to source, all of these functions that are built into WinDev that we look at them and go, okay, but what do we use them for? We're going to find out.
Super. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye. Thanks.
Again,